Universal Governance and Management System 7 presents Management and Cybernetics, a 12-point guide, updating your knowledge to deal with the complexity and the information era. Norbert Wiener, the father of cybernetics, recognized Stafford Beer as the creator of Management Cybernetics. A visit by Wiener to Beer's home never took place because Wiener died a few days prior to the meeting of both. Beer discovered the cybernetic laws of viability found in nature and embodied them in his Viable Systern Model. These laws are applicable not only to living systems, but also to every human organization and that is capable of an independent existence. This makes them universal laws. Stafford Beer was the intellectual power behind the Cybernetics project, a real-time management control experiment applied to the Chilean economy in the years 1971 to 1973. Here are most of Stafford's books, some of them translated into many different languages. Beer was aware of the fact that his ideas were far ahead of their time. We can also credit Stafford Beer with identifying the cybernetic paradigm, which is a different way of acquiring knowledge that is different from but envelops traditional science. This is quite clear from his conference, The Intelligent Organization, presented in Monterrey, Mexico in 1990. Number 2. The stuff of management. Complexity replaces the 4 M's. One of Stafford Beer's favorite quotes was that complexity is the stuff of management. Whereas operations research during World War II concentrated in managing men, materials, machinery, and money, the surge of computers and the access to information processing changed the subject. Now it was more important to focus on complexity, or the control aspects of huge organizations, including the nation state. Number 3. The law of requisite variety. It's the most important law of control. Discovered by Ross Ashby, author of Introduction to Cybernetics, and also a close friend of Stafford Beer, this law says, only variety absorbs variety. The translation says that variety is a measure of the complexity or different states of a system. To control that system, you need a regulator which can match that variety in order to cancel it or obtain control. Control is achieved by means of amplification or filtration, or both. You amplify the controlled variety and you cancel out or filter out the system variety that is not relevant to your purposes. The bottom line, information processing for control purposes is not free. Number 4. Recursive structures. As above, so below. Nature produces many recursive structures. This means that the parts have a similar structure to the whole, meaning by that a similar cybernetic structure. The human body is a recursive structure. You have cells, tissues, organs, organ systems, and the body itself, and they all have the same structure from a viability standpoint. They can all be modeled by the Viable Systern Model. The nation-state is VSM mappable. For instance, the United States Constitution originated from the 13 colonies, each of which had its own constitution. Big businesses would gain valuable managerial insights by doing a recursive mapping, instead of forcing the organization chart on everybody. Number 5. The black box. Inputs and outputs. The idea of the black box was imported to cybernetics from electrical engineering. You had to figure out the internal circuitry of some gadget from its inputs and outputs. Today, we treat many things as black boxes. You do not know everything about a combustion engine, and yet you use your car to take you somewhere. To you, your car's engine is a black box. Get gas and go. In management, you use a black box approach to simplify your thinking. Not everything that goes on is relevant all the time. You do not have to enter the black box to know the variety it can produce. Six, feedback, or how to control a black box. When information about the output of a black box is connected to modify the input, you get a circular causality loop that can produce the control you want. This returning information is called feedback. The word feedback has been distorted by popular use. Watch out! Positive is used as synonymous of good and negative as bad. In cybernetics, positive means that it accelerates the output and doesn't have to be necessarily bad or good. And negative feedback exists when error signals are used to control the system. Watch out! In 2008, the bankers failed to notice the difference. Number 7. Complexity chart. The Cynefin framework. Dave Snowden is an international consultant and author of the Cynefin framework. This framework is very useful to explain how systems can be classified according to their complexity. You have one quadrant for chaos on the bottom left, one for simple or obvious systems on the bottom right, one for complicated systems on the top right, and another for complex systems at the top left. The point made by this graph is that you cannot apply the same methodologies or approaches to the three types of systems. Complex systems are by definition unpredictable. You learn by creating models and by making experiments and hoping for the best. I further subdivide complex systems into complex adaptive systems and viable systems. Number 8. Information versus entropy. Both have an identical but reversed formula. The word information has existed for a long time. However, the quantification into bits and its modern use, the modern use of the word information, is the product of Norbert Wiener's genius and his statistical research on Brownian movements. Wiener discovered that information and entropy can be measured using the same formula, except that information would carry a negative sign. So, information is also known as negentropy. A message communicating an event with a small probability carries more information than an event with a larger probability. Information quantity is very similar or akin to newsworthiness. Information, by the way, measures order. Entropy is a measure of disorder. Number 9. The Viable Systern Model. The laws of viability apply everywhere, all the time. Here is a graphic expression of the Viable Systern Model. It has three main elements, which are an environment, an operation, and its management. The five subsystems are identity, planning, control, coordination, and the operation. Beer has an audit subsystem depending from the control function. The environment is part of the model and includes suppliers and customers or clients. Every connection among its subsystems and also with the environment are two-way feedback loops. Number 10. U7, short for Universal Governance and Management System 7. I created the U7, or Universal Management System 7, to make some changes to the VSM in order to get it to specialize on human organizations. The U7 has 7 systemic functions that are applied recursively to every component of the organization. These systemic functions are identity, planning, execution, operation, coordination, error detection, and security, which includes safety. The U7 adopts the explicit structure of an input and output system, preserving the organic qualities and recursive structure of the VSM. Number 11. Real-time management. The triple index system. Way before anybody started thinking in terms of key production indexes or indices or KPIs, Stafford Beer had invented his triple indices planning and production system and had created an operations room. The system uses 3 key indicators, which are capability, actuality, and potentiality, something very few management consultants measure. Together they link to normative planning, strategic planning, and tactical planning. These 3 indicators produced in real time to every subsystem in a corporation provides a very transparent system. Statistical tools are applied to give advance warning of production problems. Number 12. The METAPHORUM group, honoring Stafford Beer and his ideas. This group has about 100 members, perhaps even more, and meets once a year. Most knew him personally. All agree that his management ideas will prevail sooner or later. Here are some of Beer's followers and their books. Among them, from left to right, you have Barry Clemson, Patrick Hoverstadt, Raúl Espejo, Ángel Espinosa, Marcus Schroninger, Mark Lambert, Luc Hubecke, Ralph Eckhart Turk, and Jose Perez Rios.